Quite simply, the world is facing a humanitarian disaster, the likes of which have not been seen since the Second World War.
On Tuesday, the University of Windsor community gathered in an attempt to begin discussions regarding the Syrian refugee crisis and how the university can begin to contribute.
The conversation today will focus on humanitarian crises in refugees and how a campus community can or might respond to these.
Contributing to the discussion was Michael Malloy, former coordinator of the Middle East Peace Process, along with Barbara Jackman, a specialized immigration and refugee lawyer.
I mean, Canada is a country of immigrants, but we're also a country of refugees. I mean, from the times that the Loyalists came to Canada and the slaves, they were refugees. They were refugees from the United States. And if you think of it, in the 60s, the draft dodgers and the deserters were refugees from the United States. Like, we have refugees from everywhere.
The latest figures for casualties are 250,000 dead. That's just 10,000 short of the American casualties in the Second World War. And 10 million internally displaced, and 4 million who've run across the borders and who now are technically refugees, I suppose. And if people say, oh, well, we have to worry about security, the real security threat to us are boys and girls growing up in tents, seeing their parents humiliated and helpless. That's the danger. That's where terrorism comes from. It doesn't come from people who come here with their families. It doesn't come from people who run away. It comes from children without hope. The war shows no sign of stopping, and I think the recent Russian intervention can only prop up the regime and cause this to go on longer. So we are in this Syrian refugee humanitarian crisis for the long haul. So we might as well get used to it, and we might as well get organized to deal with it. This is a place where we have an Arabic population, and we're facing an influx of Arabic-speaking refugees. Accommodation's pretty reasonable down here, unlike most Canadian cities. So I think Windsor can probably play a big role on the world stage. The university taking a leading role in it makes a huge amount of sense because the university is such a big part of this city. And I think one of the things that will make a difference is pulling the city together, including the university, creating, say, a coordinating committee of all the institutions, including the mayor's office, and the various social welfare agencies, the various religious organizations. And I think students can play a big role in making that happen.
This is really an opportunity to bring together whoever wanted to be here, for you to come together and have an opportunity to talk about certainly what's been happening in Syria, but also perhaps to have a broader conversation about when there is a humanitarian crisis that occurs somewhere in the world, such as has happened in Syria, which obviously has galvanized the attention of many people. What might our student body do? What might the university campus, faculty and staff, and the institution do to make a difference? Well, there's a lot of people who are thinking about what's happening in Syria, all of the refugees, a lot of people who are thinking about what's happening in other parts of the world. And a lot of people want to do things, and there's a history of doing things. So we just want to get people together. Let's have a conversation about it. Let's learn a little bit more about it from some experts, and see what the University of Windsor and what our community might do.
The university hopes that with help from the community, Windsor can begin to support refugees in need and contribute to the ongoing crisis.